to Morelia Python Radio. In this episode, we are starting a new series called the MPR Book Club. If you listen to the show, then you know what a fan we are of her books. We've done shows in the past where we talk about our favorite books, if we got a new one or one that we've been looking for and finally we're able to track down. But in this series, we're going to discuss a specific book and what our takeaways were from that book. Deep dive into the book, if you will. We started out the series with a book that really stood out to me, The Secret Social Lives of Reptiles. This book blew me away with some of the thoughts that I had about reptiles and how wrong they were, how they interact with nature and even with each other. This book is a bit on the academic side, but I promise that there's something in here that will open your mind to something about our understanding of reptiles. So let's get into it. Welcome to episode number 487. We've been away for a couple of weeks.
Well, one, right?
What?
One?
Yeah.
1 week. We 1 week.
I don't know.
We dropped the ball once again, and
we didn't necessarily drop the ball.
We postponed it.
I had a concert to go to. We postponed it, and
then the president came to town, and apparently traffic tends to go haywire, so you got caught up in that. And then
but that was Friday.
Yeah, and then I had a bunch of stuff to do over the weekend. Yeah. So
like getting married and
not
stuff
yet,
like
that didn't happen yet.
I know, but you got to prepare.
Dude, caterers suck.
Oh yeah.
I'm about to put a drill to my temple and be like, this will help. Yet now, my god.
So tonight we're going to be talking about. We've been talking about doing. So part of the other. Well, for me, really, the main thing that kept postponing the show is just trying to get through the book.
It does get dry in some spots.
Yeah. Well, it's a very scientific. It's a great book, but it's very It's written by scientists. It's called The Secret Social Lives of Reptiles. I've talked about it multiple times. Mm-hmm. Authors are Sean Duty, Vladimir Dientz, and Gordon Burkhart.
I'll do that. Yeah, fine.
It was published 2021. And basically, it just dives into the question, like, why we have difficulty perceiving reptiles as complex social as having complex social lives. And other behavioral attributes such as personality, receptivity, and, having some sort of family structure,
interactions with each other. When it comes down to that, like, how does that affect their everyday lives and stuff? That people tend to put reptiles down at the bottom of the scale, especially reptiles without legs or the ones that live in the water. So we're talking like, alligators, crocodiles, rattlesnakes, which this is hideously appropriate because the Sweetwater Roundup is going on today. So, and that just made me, oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Still going on. Still happening. Okay. 2022 still happening. But anyway, but that just brings that up where it's like, we've had that discussion numerous times. If there was a convention where people cut up a bunch of cats, skinned them alive, and killed them, like, they would be handprinted their blood against the wall.
On the
people
wall,
would lose their fucking minds. But because it's a really scary looking reptile, you gloss over all this other stuff of interactions. And rattlesnakes are mentioned a few times in this book of having diverse social structures and stuff like that. So that's
it's an interesting book. Mm-hmm. It's not quite like reading a scientific paper.
Close,
but it's on that level. So it just really takes some time to digest. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to make sure that the first book we did, tried to do a good job of representing what it was about.
We definitely did a doozy.
Yeah. So, I couldn't pick the complete carpet.
I mean, something easier, simpler, Yeah.
But I think to your point, Owen, I think that this book came out at a very good it came out at a good time for the topic because you see a lot of people, pushing for more understanding behaviors of reptiles and keeping them in captivity and a push to sort of, give them enrichment. And I think of a couple years ago where that was like sort of a bad word to say in the reptile world. It's like if you said enrichment, it was like, what are you talking about? Because
it doesn't need it.
I think at least when I first heard that word, I thought of things like enrichment as far as mammals go,
right?
In a zoo or in something like that, and it doesn't necessarily equate to that. It could be changing out a branch in the adding a shed skin or
putting something for them to smell, scent. Like there are certain types of enrichment,
hiding food prey items.
Right. I mean, there's certain type of enrichment that you could possibly do for a mammal that you could also do for a reptile, and there's other ones you can't. Depends on the animal. If you put a ball in with a snake, I doubt it's going to play with it. I really do. I might get proven wrong, but I really doubt it. But if you throw a ball into the water in a crocodile habitat, it will probably bash that thing around and attempt to kill it, but still having fun with it. So yeah,
right.
Still enrichment.
So yeah, so I think that this book came out at a good time, and it really is not. It's really not a book per se that I would say that's geared towards the reptile hobby. I think it's really geared towards herpetology.
Yeah, I mean,
trying to figure out.
And I would agree. This isn't a care sheet. This is how you enrich your corn snake. Step 1, get corn snake. Step 2, toy. Step 3, done. Like this isn't what the majority of the reptile community or hobby are going to look into. There's going to be a select few people that do, or who come over from mainstream herpetology and kind of help us along.
Yeah.
And that'll be where we'll all get the data from. So, but because the other thing, it doesn't really give you ideas of what to do. It just kind of explains where it is. And I remember like page 3 of the book, it starts with the breaking social, non-social dichotomy. It's like, and I'm like, and that's the thing is, it's like, just so you know, social interactions with reptiles can be anything, including male to male combat. And I'm like, I guess that is a social interaction of some kind. And it's like,
yes,
when I read that, it was like, that just kind of breaks that completely apart. It's like, they're not all cuddly and they're not all happy and they're not cuddling in a pile, but male to male combat is social. And we have that with mammals and stuff. That lions fight all the time over territory and things like that. So you can have that social interaction. So, even talking about enrichment, even doing combat with your males at breeding season is some form of enrichment to their lives. So, yeah.
I think like the one thing that it gets you sort of thinking a little bit outside the box of what you may normally think about reptiles, is if you're sort of just not wanting to learn more. The book just solidified the fact that there's so
I know
much
nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling of how much I've learned in this book, to where I'd have to go back and like reread it again at some point, and like to just my whole idea of reptiles in the wild, just completely different. A lot of like snakes in particular, details of their courtship or their breeding are better known for captivity rather than in the wild. And the thing about that is that, this was one of the notes that I wanted to start with, is that this is a plus side for us, and perhaps a way that we can be a bit more professional about what we do. And maybe we would be accepted more from the academic side. And I think when you have that, where you look like you are legitimately trying to understand these animals from a scientific point of view, I think that helps with things like legislation.
It
especially
really does.
if you have scientists, herpetoculturists or herpetologists, sort of on your side,
Right.
and Dr. Loafman has talked about this multiple times about how, although it may get you clicks, and although you may be looked like as somebody important in the hobby, are you really doing anything for the hobby? And it really made me sort of like, take a step back and say, oh, okay, wow, this is sort of like one of those moments where you sort of think like, okay, what am I doing to make the hobby better and better understand these animals? And I think for us is like, all these podcasts and everything.
Case in point, yeah.
No drama and not, obviously, maybe we don't get 5 million views an episode or something like that. But I think ultimately we're doing, at least trying to do what's best, for
also
reptiles.
it's like the problem is that a lot of that stuff people don't see beyond. Like I'm recalled, I think Riley got into it with somebody about a venomous snake handling,
right?
And it's like, well, some people believe that they are showing that the animal deserves respect and that it shouldn't be feared and stuff like that. I'm like, there's ways to do that without putting yourself in danger by like free handling or something like that. And it's the problem is that there's always a justification because you don't want to admit it that you're just doing it for the clicks, for the likes, for the everything like that. And there's no, like, I don't know why people, like, especially after reading the book, it's like people tend to try to get the animal to do threat displays and stuff like that for, to be showy or flary or this, that, and the other thing. Or they try to hold the animal or handle the animal until it gives up being like trying to get away or do whatever, instead of like, it's like there's a lot of, being an animal in captivity is stressful enough. Adding stress is just plain stupid. Like even if you're just like, even like right now, our animals, like our female carpets right now, this is a very stressful time for them. Several of them are going to be laying eggs soon. And this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, don't add to it. You don't need to add to it. It's plenty there. So, yeah.
So I guess the thing, like it's broken down like this. It talks about mating systems, talks about communication. This is the chapter on mating itself.
Yep.
There's a chapter on communal egg laying, and there's a chapter on parental care when it comes to reptiles. And it's sort of the thing I like about it is it kind of separates it out as, the different species of reptiles, the different types of reptiles. So you have, it'll talk about snakes specifically in one part of the chapter. It'll talk about lizards in another, and where some of that may overlap. They'll sort of talk about that, but like just little crazy things about like, I have a highlight here. It says, I don't even know why I highlighted other than it's a crazy fact. It's like Western Diamondbacks can rattle 90 times per second continuously for hours at a time, demonstrating an aerobic capacity rare among vertebrates.
It's one of the fastest muscles in the animal kingdom is the being able to rattle it, which is nuts.
And then like there was another one where it talked about black tree monitors, and they use their forelimbs to reach into cavities and grab and extract prey. I mean, I've seen things like that, I guess, maybe as of recently. And I guess this goes to this whole thing of, trying to give your reptile, I see people and keepers and whatnot, especially with monitors, because I think monitors from what I have observed being in that world for recently, is that they're really smart animals. And I think that you can't really approach an animal that is as smart as they are and not give them some sort of, some kind of enrichment to sort of, keep their minds going and stuff.
And dude, I mean, like I was going through the crocodilian thing and going through all their different, especially around mating season with the males, of all the different displays that they do. It's almost like birds trying to lure in a female by like dancing and shit, like with head slapping, tail slapping, with the males doing that arched posture where their head and tail are up out of the water and they bellow, doing that water dance across their backs. And apparently that's something that's a posture that's adopted by all crocodilian species except for the gharial. And I'm like, well, what the fuck does the gharial do? It's like, it's that kind of stuff, because it's like you don't think about it in like, and I've seen alligators bellow and do all that stuff at like gator farms when they each want their own little spot after they all come together to eat. They'll go to, that
is pretty cool.
I mean, you feel that in your chest. So like they go to a different spot and then they start bellowing, but like I always thought of like, well, part of it thinks of it as like a threat display, territorial display. That's it. But with the hierarchy of these river systems with crocodilian species, that only the biggest, baddest guy can, he's the one who breeds with most of the females and stuff like that. It's like, it's very territorial, and it's very, something that you don't think about. But like, you're like, I wonder if all the people who have caimans or alligators or crocodiles and like those big giant water troughs think about this crap. Like it's nuts. And but you don't think about that. You think about it with crocodiles and alligators, stuff like that, after you kind of go through it, is that they do territorial displays. But then, basically with the way this book is set up with all the different things and all the different chapters, you're like, oh, communal nesting, probably nothing about snakes in here. Oh shit. Like, and it's just like right in there. You're like, oh, never mind. So
it was, again, just here's something that stood out to me. They talk about the tuatara.
It was nuts.
And their breeding processes.
It was long and involved.
A female needs 1 to 3 years to form eggs with yolk, up to 7 months for the shell to form. So it takes up to 5 years from copulation
for
to
a baby.
hatching.
Yeah, that's why they don't do well. You can't keep them in bins, and it takes 5 years for babies.
This is, oh my God, man. That's like, reproduction occurs like 2 to 5 year intervals. That's basically the slowest reptile. And the sexual maturity is 15 years of age. So it has to grow for 15 years before it can
mate. And then 5 years before there's a kid.
5 years for it to,
God. So its first kid is when it's 20.
Wow. That's nuts.
Wow. And people are like, oh, it's not ready to breed by 4, sell it.
Yeah. And then, here's one that's popular to the hobby, is the Australian bearded dragon. And it was saying that sexual determination is usually chromosomal, but at high temperatures can trigger sex reversals in adults with a subsequent switch to temperature-dependent sex determination. Transitions between chromosomal and temperature-based sex determination are common in reptile evolution and have happened at least 17 times just in geckos.
So where they'll be chromosomally, but then as the temperature rises, they'll switch sex?
Yeah, well,
I must have missed that part.
Let's break this down. Okay, I'm going to go right to the actual
part of the book. Yeah.
Okay.
I must have glanced over that part.
Okay. It's basically saying that embryonic development in reptiles, particularly crocodilians, is very similar to that of birds.
Right.
One notable difference is that although in all birds, the sex of the offspring is determined by chromosomes, in many reptiles, including all crocodilians, most turtles, many lizards, and the tuatara, is determined by incubation temperatures.
Right.
In the Australian bearded dragon, sexual determination is chromosomal. But very high temperatures can trigger sex reversal in adults with a subsequent switch to temperature-dependent sex determination. So does that mean that
if they're kept too high, the adult will switch, or no? or that
Wait,
the babies
that's what I'm
from
reading,
or
right?
that the babies from that adult will now be temperature.
And triggers sexual reversal in adults with a subsequent switch to temperature-dependent sex determination.
That's so confusing.
But at very high temperatures can trigger sex reversal in adults.
That's what it says.
With a subsequent switch to temperature-dependent sex determination. Transitions between chromosomal and temperature-based sex determinations are common in reptiles. Wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad now for everybody who's like, I bought 2 bearded dragons and then one was a male and it got mean and hurt the other one. I'm like, it might have switched. Like, I mean, now I'm like, oh man, I
left the hot spot on all night long.
Now they're both boys and they're mad at each other. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's there's all kind of crazy things in here, and a lot of it, unfortunately, the thing that they keep hitting over and over in the book is how like little reptiles are actually studied. So a lot of it is just hypothesis when that's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's kind of interesting to see how they're thinking about these things,
it's
and how difficult they are even just to study
right.
at all.
And small things like obviously snakes communicating through scent is not something that you would regularly think about, but has to be a major part of how they communicate with each other, whether it's females getting luring in males or even just knowing if there's another snake in the area. And
right.
We obviously we see it with this one part. It talks about mimicking and how certain snakes will like just kind of evolve their entire lives around mimicking either a venomous animal that they might not even like. The ranges for these two animals might come in contact like this little bit, like it's
right.
Like or even if it's just a mimicking of either worms with tail wagging, like they talk about the spider tail viper, or mimicking of a stick, where if it and I see this downstairs with my rhinos, if they're down in the tanks and they're kind of leaning and there's a little bit of like, if I turn on the ceiling fan, they'll start kind of swaying in the breeze like they think they're supposed to with the rest of the sticks that are in the cage. So it's so cool to think about that kind of stuff.
I'm going to send this quick message to Lucas to see what he makes of that statement that we just
Oh yeah, let's see. I mean, this will be pop quiz hotshot. Yeah. Large male western diamondback, nicknamed Tyson. On the top of the group of in front of the communal den. Another, like, we even talk about it. We go to see where all the timbers go, and that thing's a communal den where we go to see the like it has to be. And
100%.
And rattlesnakes stick to each other in that kind of situation, which is nuts.
Yeah, it was talking about the one thing, the one thing that always used to come up when you would talk about any kind of things like this, as far as this go, is monogamy when it comes to the Taliqua rugosa, the shinglebacks. So they've been known to exhibit long-term social monogamy during the breeding season. They're a non-territorial species, forms monogamous pair bonds for 6 to 8 weeks before mating in late spring, and then the pair splits up after mating, but usually reform the next year. And then I think there was 2 studies, 77% and 79% of the females were paired with the same partner across years. So it was 141 partnerships. 110 of those lasted more than 10 years. 31 lasted more than 15 years. And the longest recorded one was 27 years and counting.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Well, and then it goes to something else where it's like, so, I was talking to a friend today who's got a pair of snakes that we're about 99% sure are a pair. and it should be relatively easy to breed because they're Morelia, but he just can't get them to go. And it just makes you think that sometimes, like, we talk about cues for breeding all the fucking time, but and there's always those rumors of you need multiple males for certain species. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you need some kind of interaction where, because this one study, it's a study of brown snakes, said that showed outside the mating period, males and females will follow the chemical cues of the other animals in the area, regardless of sex. But during mating season, males will exclusively follow the female trails. They will avoid male trails as much as possible. They'll only follow female trails, but females will follow both male and female trails, thinking that males, it's obviously looking for, the females following the male trail to look for a mate, but it's also following a female trail to see if it's led to any kind of good hunting ground, this, that, and the other thing. So it's all that kind of stuff. So, I've said numerous times, throw in the sheds of my other males in the carpet cages usually tends to get everybody all ripped up into a tizzy, but maybe throwing the female sheds in the cages too.
Could be, I mean, again, these are things that, like, I think the beauty of a book like this is that it gets you to start to think.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe you can do some, again, it's all going to be, you're not going to be able to publish a paper off of it, but at least you could maybe have a better understanding of, your snakes in your room or your reptiles in your room, and, like, really try to hone in on, these cues that we might be missing. We might be, you keep it in a sterile box, we might be missing those things, I wonder if, the idea of having all those males and females in one room, I wonder if that affects them.
It has to, because I mean, like, case in point, he's still going nuts, and it's
was that like 2 weeks
ago?
2
weeks ago, he's still pissed off because he hadn't been in there with her yet. So it's like she's in the room, and the second he was perfectly fine being the only rough scale in the room. The second he moved into a room with two females, he's lost his mind. So it's also the right time, but, like, they have to know for these things to be able to track each other down in the wild, where there's more stuff, smells, overloading of the senses and stuff like that, to just in your own room, they have to know where they are.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the one thing, I thought the whole chapter with communication,
it's like nuts, dude.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they can pick up on a lot, and even some of the stuff that we kind of don't notice. Like, we all think, oh, well, we walk in the room and they kind of see us, smell us, do whatever, and they come out the kind of interaction, but they may also hear us, and just kind of, even if it's to a certain point where we might not pick up on it. I mean, it's insane. And I mean, I'm looking at the one pictures of the two lace monitors combating and stuff like that. And that's a big part of monitor, like, even just socialization, because even the males will combat, the females will combat with each other over nesting sites, like Komodos and stuff like that. They do not share, but, like, even then, with just those kind of stuff, like, that's something else that I know that there's some monitor species where people can't get them to breed. But that's the other part, is that you don't want to think about this part, because obviously there's one of these guys in this fight could very much be hurt or killed. So
wow.
Yeah.
It's like, we talk about the one thing that one of the things that stood out to me was we talk about all the time, like, we change out the enclosure, and let's say that you're keeping an animal on paper or something like that. You change it out, and immediately you put the snake back in, and they go and they shit in the water,
because now it smells. It's got to smell like that. It's my territory.
And one of the things that they talked about in the book was again, obviously in the example that they were using Western fence lizards,
right?
But they were talking about feces and how they use it to transmit information, and it has been demonstrated with those fence lizards and various snakes, but fecal chemicals of adult, what was it? Some kind of rock lizard, allow for recognition of familiar males, suggesting that, I think too, one of the things that they were speculating is that the, is how they, I guess, like how they, for lack of a better word, shit.
Yeah.
Could use as a multimodal signal in territory marking, like meaning, I guess, you can't come past this space or whatever.
This is my rock. Yeah.
Yeah. There's that I think we talked about this before, but there's this species of chipmunk. I think it's a Siberian chipmunk, and they can hijack snake chemical signals by rubbing itself with the skin of the dead snakes.
Yeah.
Just crazy things, man, of like, just when it comes to all these different ways that they communicate that we're not even picking up on. And, like immediately, I don't know, when I think of like in my early days of snake keeping and they would shit in the tub, I would be like, let me change it out, because I can't be in there. And, obviously we have this balance of, keeping the snake healthy and the cage clean, and but maybe you can make it too clean. That's why for me during the breeding season, I obviously
you clean, but it's one of those things of like Matt said it to me one year, now's the time to be lazy, because and that's something else where it's like, if you are keeping snakes on paper and you're not sure if your female's ready to go yet, and she maybe peed a little bit or has some dirty paper, throw it in the male's cage. If he is obsessed with that paper, it's time to go. I have this one section highlighted, I did it just for you, my friend.
Okay. Okay. It must be about the moon.
No, that's later, I think. But much more rarely, combat in the Kimberly Rock Monitor can last nearly 2 hours.
Oh gosh.
2 hours, those little shits. Like, they're yeah.
They don't call him the Lord of the Kimberly.
You don't get that title without, like, you got to be able to fight for 2 hours. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Yeah, so I was saying about that. I forgot to finish that statement with the chipmunk, but they think that the reason that that the chipmunk does this is because it's trying to protect itself from predation by snakes. Or so if they smell like a snake, it's going to sort of avoid it.
Right. Or that, or they're trying to protect, they found a good den and they got their they got their pinkies or anything, hiding in this nest. But if the whole nest smells like snake, no rat's going to go in there and try to, muck around in that little tunnel, or no other hamster's going to go try to steal something. They'll just avoid that tunnel.
Yeah.
They
what was it? What was the other thing that I read too about when it came to that? It was discoveries described below made it clear that the turtle and snake communication is also complex and worth studying. And numerous papers were published on chemical communication in snakes, although almost all of them were focused on a handful of model species. So they talk about the model species where they have these specific species that they sort of study. And the problem is that I guess that they sort of apply it generally to sort of snakes, but obviously there's so many different species of snake.
Right. And some might display it in different ways, or have different interactions, or it means different things. Like, to generalize it as like snake do this is because we, even just as keepers of multiple species, know not every snake is the same. If it was, we'd be drowning in Bolinai right now. So it's
Well, I do have a thought about that we'll get to later. Get to the thing.
Are you listening, Keith? Not yet. Just turn it up later.
Yeah. Again, it was courtship and mating.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about
snapping turtles are apparently extremely violent when it comes to breeding. It's like, oh my god!
Like, I think out of probably python people, probably especially carpet python people, probably have that idea early on about combat. Maybe Morelia in general, would you say? Do roughies don't combat, right?
I do not have an extra male, or I'd let you know. It's like it would just,
we would do a live.
Let's figure it out. Let's chuck him in and see what happens. I think at this point, if you would ask me that question like 6-7 years ago, I'd be like, probably not. Right. But now I'm like, screw it. I think any snake male can probably combat another one if the need arises. Like, it's depends on the circumstances. I think if we haven't seen it, it's because a lot of the species that we haven't seen it in are either in remote areas or tend to stay away from each other and kind of lead solitary lives anyway. So they only come together maybe for breeding season. And if a male's tracking down another female and smells another male, maybe he'll avoid it. Or, this, that, or the other thing. Or he'll show up and then they'll just be like, oh, and go their separate ways. But a lot of it, mainly we see communal or combating is in larger Morelia, where obviously they're all going to be where all the good stuff is, the warm spots, the sun, this, that, and the other thing. And then rattlesnakes, which are extremely communal. So
yes, it was rattlesnakes. There was a Turkestan cobra.
Yeah.
That also combats.
Yeah. I'd say because the way they were talking about it is that even Viperidae combat. Male displaying raises his interior position of his body to vertical, as if inverting, and the opponent will join the fight. So they'll almost turn their back end up, and then there's male combat, which I think Viper combat could honestly be a little mistaken for breeding in some instances. But again, like you wouldn't think about that with certain other Viperidae, but I'd say combat happens in all species of snake and might just look different across the board. We're so used to looking at one certain type, we might not associate it. So,
yeah. And the one thing that I thought was interesting was they talk about all snakes and all snake sex appears to be consensual, as opposed to many lizards and turtles.
It is not.
The females are often forced into
It
mating.
is not, yeah.
And it might explain why snake females are typically larger in males, while in other reptiles, the males are usually larger.
Mm-hmm.
But not always. But yeah. They also talked about snakes not rarely being territorial or having dominance-based social systems.
Yeah, it's not like there's not like a big man in the river where it's like that's the biggest diamond python. He owns the barn. It's like no, that's not like it. Just seems to be there's several diamond pythons or something like that. So it was,
and they did. I think he's probably it's probably a diamond python paper that they're referring to, but they say the exceptions predictably are snake species that practice male-to-male combat, apparently putting males under selection for larger size. And we know this from carpets, right? Because just like you said, typically the species of carpets where you have the females that are larger, the males typically don't combat. Things like imbricata, diamond pythons,
breadlie.
I guess
breadlie. Breadlie.
I don't know if they combat.
Do you think? I mean, I can.
But I
bet you they would.
I like Darwin's, Poplands, coastals, jungles.
Well, again, then I also think it's got to be the boys because, like, right now I have two males that are probably close to the same size. If I chuck them in with the female, I bet you they combat.
Right.
Just because they're both the same size. Now, if I had one male that was bigger, maybe the smaller male decides he's out. I'm done. I'm not doing this. But then I'll say that I had a smaller zebra jag male take on a jungle male that was almost twice his size.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you think about that too. Like I guess maybe carpets are hardwired. Maybe that's why we can breed smaller males to female. I
don't
mean,
know.
like we've seen some really small.
Yeah, like it's still got an egg tooth on it. Yeah.
Well, I guess that ball pythons do that too. But I guess it just looks crazy when you have a big carpet.
Yeah, it's much more noticeable with like a 6-7 foot female carpet and like this little 32-month-old male, and it's like, hey, go for it, buddy. Like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was this snake called a Monty peeler snake, I think it was. And they were saying that basically how the courtship between the male and female of this species is probably the most elaborate. And basically it breaks down like this: a male, and the male is typically much larger than the female, establishes this long-term bond with the female he copulated with. He guards her continuously, until a few days prior to her laying the eggs, aggressively protecting her from predators. And I guess humans are probably the biggest predator.
Probably, yeah.
He says. And helping with prey capture. And it's like there's anecdotal evidence that in some populations of this species, the guarding male provides the female with freshly killed prey. His behavior was supposedly that behavior was filmed for a documentary.
That's nuts. Like, I mean, there was that
Think
one.
about
I mean, that's insane.
It's just nuts.
Can you imagine like going to feed your male carpet and it's like, and it like holds it in its mouth and just brings it to the female? It's like, wait, what are you doing? Like, it is.
That's a snake.
Yeah.
That's a species of snake that does that.
That's so
that
cool.
blew my mind, man.
Well, it's like I was reading the one part. I was just reading the one part where it's like they said that the it's the what they said was the Russian. Man, I lost it. It was this monitor species that the male will find the female in his den. After breeding, he will go down and dig the den out and expand it so that he can fit in there with her. And then he will guard her and he will stay with her until the eggs are deposited. And then he will help her bury the eggs in it. And then they'll both peace out after that.
Wow.
But he'll stick to her like glue until the eggs are laid.
Wow. That's crazy. Another one. So I think it's like, I'm trying to think of the species. It's probably anacondas. I think Eunectes he brings up, Neurodia, and I think garter snakes are in this too. Obviously garter snakes are in this, but
breed ball.
There's a female and a breeding ball, and they talk about that and like how that all works, and eventually a male, sort of. There was something, it wasn't in this book that I remember, but I remember with garter snakes, they were saying that, I hope I get this right, that the garter snake goes and will sometimes, does he get the female scent on it? Or I can't remember.
I've heard that where it's like, so they'll breed and then
they'll stay away.
Yeah.
And then he sort of moves
I know that one time, there's been a couple times where a male garter will do something to get other males to come over to it so that it can go over to the female, whether it be scent marking, grabbing, like rubbing on the female and getting her scent, or even if it is some kind of like a display kind of a deal. I've heard that where they will do something to get other males off. I've also heard that they will stay on the female if they are locked with her as long as humanly possible, to make sure that other males don't get a chance to breed with her. So,
let's see. I just tried to look it up real quick to see if I could find. According to scientists involved in the experiment, each spring,
garters do garter things. Yeah. So.
Power of estrogen.
I did enjoy the study pictures they put in there with the Toatera, where they had that one fake one that they could like pull the scales, the frills off of. They're like, let's see if this pisses him off, and it's like a fake lizard, and they're like, nope. And then they put like detachable frills on it, and it was like, oh, that set him off. Like that one, that upset him.
Yeah.
Like it was like that. So
I can't seem to find it. My computer's frozen at the minute.
That's what several studies are in the wild. Will this piss off the animal we're looking at? Yep. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Mark that down. It does not like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Rob had that. He has sort of that. He has those boas where
the Jamaicans,
Solomon Island, tree boas.
Yes, and, they're small.
Yeah. Well, he puts I think he puts a couple males. I know. Well, it's at least a couple males, if not maybe I don't know if he puts. I can't remember.
A shovel full of males in there.
Shovel full of males.
Get in there, good boys.
But at least two. And what happens is he was saying that that's sort of like something that sort of gets them going. We talked about that with scrub pythons.
I have been so tempted to run both male white lips through with the female and both male Timors in with the female. I have been so tempted. And
why not?
I don't know. I have this mental block. I can't do it. It's like I'm afraid of what might happen.
Right.
And what might happen is eggs. And I don't know what that to do. I mean, I would say that I would let my younger male Timor get a bit bigger. And then when he's bigger, I'd say I give it a shot.
Right.
And what I might end up doing is what I would like to do is set up one pair of Timors up high and one pair of Timors down low, run the males together with one female and then separate them and immediately put I don't care. I'll hook one male. I don't care who it is, just a boy, and put him in with the other girls. So now both males are like, good, kick that asshole out of my territory. There you are.
Right.
Like in that. Right. So that's the idea.
I would definitely give it a try, man. I would.
I did it this year. I kind of did it this year. I threw the sheds of both the male. Do
you get a reaction when you do that?
I did. This year, I threw the sheds of both the other male and the other female into the cage with the older Timors, and I put the male shed up high on this one shelf far away. I came in and my older male was sitting on it on the other end of the cage. So he went over, inspected it, knocked it off the ledge, dragged it across the floor of the cage, and then was sitting on it under the heat spot. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
I know the female psyched me out yesterday. I thought she was beehived, and I'm like, and then I poked her, and she's like, "What?" And I'm like, that fake little beehive bullshit where it's like she's a little bit higher, and yeah. But I'm like, no. And then I said that to myself. I closed it. I'm like, you've seen animals beehive. You know that wasn't a beehive. You just got excited. Yeah. Like what that looks like.
Isn't that funny how our you know it when you see it?
But you'll trip yourself up. You can't
explain it,
right?
Yeah, but when you're doing something that it's a species that you didn't necessarily breed before, and you're thinking well, maybe there's a slight difference between how they do it and the other. But when you see it,
sitting on top of a mound of eggs, it looks different.
No,
it's not going to look that different. But in my brain,
hard. Yeah. It's so hard to be able to. Well, it goes to the thing we talk about every year, right? Yeah. You'll come to my place, I'll go to your place. You'll be second guessing your females, I'll be second guessing mine, and you'd pick them up, and you're just like, "Oh yeah,
Jesus Christ, yeah,
yeah, good Lord."
What do you mean? Question?
She's as tight as a drum.
Oh my God,
I don't understand. What are you doing? But it's just it's crazy how these you see these things, and that makes me think how much more are we missing? And
tons.
This really is what goes to my whole reason of me sort of cutting down my collection and sort of being able to observe these things, because let's face it, when you're doing it in tubs, you don't get this, even if it benefits the snake, you're still not seeing it,
right? Right.
So
and dude, I didn't think about half this stuff. Like that one picture from Maryland, of the black rat snake communal nest.
Oh, all the eggs
out of the tree stump.
On the tree stump.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, this is the next chapter that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time in this.
This was my favorite chapter. Yeah.
Yes. So it was communal egg laying.
That's the other thing. It's like communal egg laying. Oh, yeah, like sea turtles. Oh, yeah, sea turtles. You're not going to be a single fucking thing in here about snakes. Holy shit. Like, it's, yeah.
And some of them were species. There was just all kind of crazy shit about North American snakes and to your point, the black rat snake. And I think there was a part with Pituophis.
Yeah.
And I think there was another part with Eastern hognose snakes. Oh my God. So basically communal egg laying is, turtles are probably the best example. Right?
Yeah. They all come to the beach to lay their eggs there. Yeah.
Right. So I think I took from it that, you can't really see reptile nests a lot of times, except for things like turtles and maybe crocodilians, because they're leaving, tracks behind.
Or mom is going to be there, like within this, like, and that's the other thing. It's like a crocodile. They kind of do communal egg laying, but they give each other enough space that you can kind of almost say that it's not communal egg laying, but they're all setting up on the bank of the river. Just they're giving each other a wide berth, just like sea turtles and stuff like that. But it is, mothers laying eggs in a common area or adding to the eggs. It's nuts. Yeah.
The thing that I was saying about why we know so much about, sea turtles or crocodilians is because people can find those ones, right? You know what I mean? That's like, find a snake nest.
Well, yeah,
and we'll get into the monitor shit in a minute, but like, holy shit.
Well, you can, you can track the turtle up the beach. And like I just said, which one the crocodile nest is because it's sitting on it. Like, it's right. You're right. Find a snake nest.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. I think, what was it? They talked about better as we they did an analysis of 3 families of Australian lizards, basically geckos, the pygopods, and the proportions of each species in each group rose to 4 to 9%, from 4 to 9% to 73 to 100% of communal nesting when excluding species for which nests were unknown. So this analysis had 2 important implications. One, it strongly suggests that communal laying is much more common than previously realized, and it highlights our inadequate knowledge of eggs and the nest of reptiles.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, I think so. This was what I was talking with the pine snakes, 2 species of snakes, the pine snakes. So Pituophis, what is it?
I suck at Latin. I don't even know why you're asking me. Like, it's
Melanocus.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah. And the Eastern hognose are known to excavate their own burrows explicitly for nesting.
Right.
So I think about, we think about those pine snakes and, they're that Jersey soil, right? And,
sandy,
specifically to that area, and like, again, this is where being in that environment and actually feeling the sand and like, and knowing what that's like in Jersey, right? We know that because we live here.
Yeah.
But, it's just crazy that those 2 species in particular, will go out of their way to sort of excavate their burrows
to clean it all out. Yeah.
Good God, that's got to be a lot of work. And that was sort of the thing of like using the
communal nesting.
Nest is that's a lot of work for the female.
You got to think about it the other way too. It's like, especially with colubrids. If the nesting spot is freaking great, why wouldn't they just put their eggs next to whichever female also put her eggs there? Why are they really going to go that crazy? But I would love to see if it was also, I mean, I know we showed the black rat snake, or we talked about the black rat snake nest, where it's like a communal nest of black rat snake, recently cut down tree stump, in Maryland. With the number of eggs and hatchlings recovered, the nest comprised of at least 22 mothers having put their eggs there. But what I would love to know is, like, are they all black rat snake eggs? Like, how do you know there's not like a corn snake in there somewhere? That's like, screw it. True. That's awesome. Like, I mean, it's so weird to think
about. Is
about.
Corn snakes in that?
I mean, not really, but I mean,
we don't have overlapping corn snakes. Do they overlap somewhere?
Of course they do. I mean, of course they do.
They do, right?
Yeah. Okay. I just don't know where. It's like,
well, like even the yellow rat snake and the corn snake would overlap down south.
Right. Exactly. Right? So there's colubrid overlap in various points in the United States. Like,
how do you know it's not a racer egg?
Exactly.
Or something like that,
it's like, exactly. Like, even up here, we have black racers, we have black rat snakes, we have garter snakes, we have water snakes and stuff like that. Like, obviously the territories overlap. So of course, if they found the right spot to have babies or lay eggs, why wouldn't they? So,
yeah, it was talking about, just the idea of a female. I think they used an iguana is what they were talking about, but basically it's digging a nest burrow is perhaps the hardest and most energy. It's so costly to a female. We talk about this a lot after, a carpet python comes off of eggs and she maternally incubates and how horrible she looks, she's, God, man, it's just amazing. She's producing a clutch of eggs as it's developing inside of her. She's digging a burrow that's, good, or a nest, like how long? She's not eating, so she doesn't have any room for food because she's got all these eggs in her.
It's even worse because, like, that one, I know the one you're talking, the motivated green and iguanas. They swam from the mainland to a small island.
I forgot that part.
They swam to a small island and then they started digging. It's like, wait.
Right. So the idea is that if she can avoid the costly digging exercise, why wouldn't she just use another animal's burrow,
Right.
Which basically aids in her survival, right?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Swim across the water, get to a small island, put the eggs, because apparently the island isn't big enough to sustain mammal life that would dig up and eat the nest. So they swim there to put the babies there, and then they lay the eggs. And then after all that digging and egg laying, they have to swim back because they can't stay on the island. It's like, dude, being an iguana sucks.
You talk about monitor burrows, and that's sort of in the same chapter. And I think in this example, they were using Panoptes.
Yep.
Is an Australian, basically it's a yellow spotted monitor in Australia, right? And I think Gould's monitors use this as well, but they found this burrow and it kind of like corkscrews down. And if you're interested in this, there was an article, I can send you a link, and it shows you it. I think what podcast was that on? Pingle's podcast. They had the guy, I don't know if it was the person that wrote the paper or if they were just talking about that, but they had a discussion about it. It was crazy. But basically, this monitor, this Panoptes, it goes they had these chambers, and it's the deepest known vertebrate nest in the world.
Jesus.
It was 3.6 meters deep, far exceeding that of any, I think up to that point, 0.9 meters was the average, and that belonged to the leatherback sea turtle. God, man.
And just think, it's like the baby's got to hatch and it's got to go through all that just to get to the surface where it's eaten by a bird. Like, it is.
And the interesting thing about that is that the babies go up a different way.
Yeah,
they're not coming up. You would think that they would go out the one side. I guess that's really maybe predation, to avoid that or whatever. It was at one site. At one site, researchers found 97 nests in a 4x4 meter area. including 21 fresh nests and 76 clutches of eggshells from successful nests in previous years.
Jesus.
The monitor, the decimation of the yellow-spotted monitor populations by the cane toad invasion in northern Australia exposed this lizard as the top predator.
Bastard.
Exposed the lizard as a top predator and made the argument that they need to study its communal nesting behavior ahead of the invasion front. So that's how they stumbled upon that.
Yeah. I mean, and I was reading more on the mom snake is not stupid. Like we said about trying to make sure it's easy. Most of the time you find these nests in the wild in tree stumps of that because they wait for the beetles and the larvae, the burrowing beetles, to rip up the interior of the tree stump and make it all soft so she can just slide right in and put the eggs right in there rather than having to. I mean, we've seen nature documentaries of king cobra moms building their nest, and that's a trip.
Yeah.
If you've seen that, they have to drag leaves with their coils into a mound, and that's annoying.
It's been thought that diamond pythons do that as well.
That'd be insane.
I know Josh Easter has observed females doing that. That was in captivity. I don't know if there's ever been a study that has shown that, but
of course, because what we do is we give them all this really nice box to put their eggs in or a water bowl. So it's like if you took everything out of there and just gave her a mound of leaves, she'd ball it up so she could get under there.
And this is another thing that really stood out to me, right? We talk about this with monitor. Well, we don't talk. No, we don't do that. We don't have talked about with monitor lizards as far as the idea that if you don't, and this, Owen, because
I do know this. I do know what you're talking about.
Monitors.
Yep.
But if you don't have the nesting,
she will hold on to those eggs till she dies. Like that is correct. Yeah. She will not lay those eggs.
Why would that be far-fetched with snakes? And maybe snakes are less forgiving of that. But we never talk about it. I never hear anybody talk about it. The nest box is often sort of like this thing that's sort of like an afterthought, right? It's at least for me, it's shit, man, but here's the thing, and I don't know if this applies to my room or whatever, but this is where these little nuances of how people do this will make a difference in maybe their success or lack of a success. But breeding carpets in these big tubs, basically what I would do is that I just got a bunch of sphagnum moss and I just threw it in the entire tub.
Made their whole tub the lay box.
Yeah, the entire thing. Yep. So my thing, Zach Baez was the one that sort of turned me on that idea. And the reason is because she can basically pick where she wants to go. It's just like a big, huge nest box. She's going to feel comfortable. She's hidden away, all these things that maybe are stressing that female out, right? Because maybe it's just it's just instinctual for them to sort of be want to hide away because of, just reading all this stuff that they have to do in order to produce a clutch of eggs is just, is crazy. And maybe the reason why, maybe part of the reason why snakes do it a little are more successful and maybe is not as picky with the nesting box is that, maybe it has to do with the other females in the room. So if you have other females laying eggs, to what's your point? Maybe they're picking up on those cues and they're saying, okay, it's okay to lay eggs here,
I mean, we talked about this a few times that my original hide boxes were those 10-gallon tough totes where I cut a U shape in the front and threw the lid out and put it on top. And they kept wanting to sit on it. So it kept bowing. And also every time I wanted to do anything, I would lift it up. And I had more females lay outside of that than inside of it. They'd go under the paper. They'd find a nook underneath a ledge where they were off to the side. When I changed it to those harder plastic things and kept the lid on it where they have to climb into it, but they can also sit on top of it, where I don't have to rip it open and compromise the hide all the time, I've never seen them lay anywhere else. Even my Madagascar hognose, they know this is a safe place. Yeah, the safe place to put the eggs.
Wow.
They will put them here. The corn snakes can't get hit to the trick, and now they can the rhinos. But because they'll just put them, they'll bury them. They will go underneath the water bowl, dig out a small little nook, and then they'll put the eggs there.
Wow.
So
it just Yeah, man. I think of, here's another thing that just popped in my head as we're talking about this, but like, going back to the monitor lizard nest, right? So like they have these, deep nests, and, it's, what are the 7 to 10 months of incubation for monitor lizards, right? And they inhabit areas where long dry seasons, are there, and it's very dry, and but if you watched any type of survivor show, right? If you're in the desert and you're trying to get some moisture, like if you dig down deep enough, you're going to eventually hit some moisture. So like they're possibly the reason why these, monitor lizards are going this deep is because they're trying to get to that, perfect temperature for those those eggs. It's so what was it? The nest excavation by mothers can take up to 2 weeks. That's just crazy amount of energy that they would have to do. But anyway, if she's taking those eggs down there, it just goes, the immediate thing that pops in my head is the care sheet, right? Yeah. Because this animal is from the desert, it wants dry conditions all the time.
And that's like, not true. Like it,
correct.
Just because the habitat is dry doesn't mean it spends the majority of its time. And also, monitors of Africa, they're breaking into termite mounds to put their eggs in there because those are they're perfectly temperature, like they're regulated and all that other stuff and protected because it's like concrete. So it's,
So it would make sense from a standpoint of that they would share these nests, because the mother, again, if it's taken 2 weeks to do it, the amount of energy that would have to be, they could save that energy and time by doing it communally in a suitable area. That they could, regardless of the cost and the benefits, that the mothers of both species are, going to that nest and, each year, and, who knows how are they interacting when they're there, I don't know.
Are they all getting along and laying, or is it like one female can't come into the nest site until the other one's gone because they're going to get pissed off? Like, I don't know.
And I guess this isn't known at this time, but they basically in the book, they predict that other large monitor species with long incubation periods that must span a long dry season, aka the parenti, will also nest communally and at great depths. And I guess they're trying to study that right now. So
you go dig a bunch of holes in, Australia.
Right.
Yeah. I'm gonna find them parenti eggs. Like it's
so this was the other thing that I was talking about with the pine snake. It excavates its own nesting burrow in sandy sites in New Jersey. They excavate by pushing forward in the sand with their head and snout, crooking the neck, capturing the sand in the crook, and then bringing it out of the burrow in a dump pile. That's crazy.
That's nuts.
It's very similar to what we've seen with Woma pythons, right?
Yeah, digging everything out. I mean, and then think about it that way. Maybe some of those snakes will not put eggs where they don't think it's clean enough, or I did enjoy the one part where they were talking about increased basking with certain, because they were talking about how some snake mothers that will do maternal incubation will they think they said sacrificing or self-sacrificing, and it's like, they don't look good. And it was they're talking about how some of them they would say that none of them have actually been observed to having prolonged oh gosh, where was it? Okay. Probably very uncommon in increased basking has only been documented in a few species, although it's probably very common in the cold areas as few snakes such as the carpet python, Morelia spilota. I guess they're talking diamond, right? I mean,
probably.
You got to think about it that way.
Richard Shine after that?
No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't quote Shine.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it has to be a Shine paper, right? Yeah, no, it doesn't say it. Huh. Weird. But that makes the most sense then, where it's like some species are able to regulate it without having to worry about it. But like diamonds and animals from cold weather spots need to the help of the sun, which is something else where it's like, you got to think about it with this, bolins, white lips, any really dark colored snake have got to be from extreme temperatures where they have to soak in as much sun as possible, especially the females, especially when they're on eggs.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it was there was a study done that they talked about, and this is the cool thing, right? When you start to keep these other species, you start to like, oh, okay, I know that.
Yeah.
So there's velvet geckos, Oedura, I think it was Lucieri, I think. And they preferred to nest in nest sites with hatched eggshells already over empty nest sites. So they sought out
a good nest site. Yeah.
were. Right.
Well, then hell, like, so obviously you can breed the velvet geckos you said they were velvet geckos, right?
Yeah.
You can breed the velvet geckos in captivity, but would that increase your chances of like breeding maybe your first year or breeding successfully if you kept, say first year you get eggs, next year, if you kept the shells from the first year and just scattered them in like a nest box, like, could you get her to put the eggs where you want her to?
I guess my thought would be that if you could, I think that's an idea that would work.
Yeah.
I think as long as the temperature and the humidity and those triggers are right, I think, yeah, why not?
I wonder if
it's showing that it's been studied that that's what they're doing in the wild. So why wouldn't they do that?
Now I wonder, say you had a carpet python that would never put the fucking eggs in the goddamn lay box.
Right.
If you threw 1 or 2 carpet eggs, or even maybe the first year you're breeding a carpet, you throw a couple eggshells you kept over from last year in her lay box, will she get the hint and put them there?
But this is your first year breeding?
Well, it's like, I mean...
Oh, you're saying if you have
various
like
hypotheticals.
Carpet?
Various hypotheticals. Like me right now, I have various carpet pythons. I have various old carpet python eggs that I've kept that have dried out and become
it's a different
leathery, different moms.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
Let's say
I'm following
2 different moms. One, it's her first year.
Right.
And I know she's gravid and I want her to put the eggs in the egg box. If I put the shells from previous years in the egg box, do you think she'll get the hint and put them in there?
I don't know. I would be very curious to see if that would happen.
And then the second scenario is I have a female that never puts her fucking eggs in the egg box, but has bred before. What if I put the eggshells from last year in the box? Would she get the hint? Would she be like, this is a safe place? Clearly, this clutch hatched and there was nothing wrong with it. Nobody disturbed it. This is a great place to put mine.
Yeah, I think, I mean, according to what we're reading in this book, I would
geckos
think
are smarter than snakes, apparently. So it's like,
well, even they talk about snakes, but they're basically, in a nutshell, what they're saying is, a gravid female snake is, she's looking to save time and energy, reduce predation.
She wants to make sure the babies will survive, especially
she wants, yes. And how do you do that? And I'm sure that there's, to your point, what they talked about earlier, and you said it earlier, where
they'll follow the trails.
Is following the trail of the other females.
Well, and that's the thing was like, so obviously if there are 2 schools of thought with that, even with snakes, the females that will protect the eggs and the young, and the females that will just lay the eggs and peace out. I think females that will lay the eggs and leave definitely look for communal nests and definitely look for possible signs that this is a safe place. If they go to lay their eggs and there's obviously, it looks like a clutch that was there before got ripped into by like a raccoon, not a good place to put the babies. She might move on. But if there's a bunch of old eggshells or, scents of females that go back years, this might be a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, they say this over and over again with multiple species: geckos, snakes, crocodilians, turtles,
and we've seen
lizards, monitors, where they'll specifically go to nest sites and all those rat snake eggs that they found in the one spot.
Even then, it's just a good spot because, like, you've seen the videos of carpets where, like, they're like, I'm going through the mulch pile and here's 3 fucking female carpets all sitting on eggs. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that picture where the 2 females are together, right, side by side on the eggs. I wonder too how much of it is habitat loss and the fact that they can't find suitable nest sites. So maybe they've adapted to be, to do this.
I would say a good nest site is a good nest site, but to your point, if all the other good nest sites are gone, like. If we had this big old tree stump in this giant forest in the middle of prime habitat, I'd say the majority of the animals would still use it to put their eggs in. But when it's the only thing in the middle of a field, all the animals are going to put their eggs there. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think they also talk about that there has been evidence that, in these communal egg laying sites, that there are some drawbacks to it as well. And, some of the costs where high densities of nesting mothers associated with communal eggs can lead to destruction of nest or eggs by the conspecific nesting mother, in lizards and turtles. And I think Tuatora and crocodilians were the same way.
Yeah, if you dig up somebody else's nest to put your in there, you're going to fuck up their shit.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Or even then, you are putting all the eggs in one basket, like quite literally. So if all the black rat snakes put all their eggs in that one tree stump, and then something happens and that thing, I don't know, gets hit by lightning or that there's a flood thing or whatever, or somebody chops it down, which is what that picture is they felled it and they found all those eggs in there. That's it. I mean, you just devastated the population for that area for a whole year. So,
as we know with COVID too, I think one of the other drawbacks is, the cost of increased disease transmission.
Yeah.
There's very high nest densities lead to.
What was the? I think it was like in 2019. It was like this is the best year for procedural nests. It's like, we can't all go to the humans are humans have been removed. It's like when you pull us out of the equation, all the animals seem to do better. It's like weird.
How about that?
That's so odd. Oh God.
I keep checking back to see if Lucas answered us.
He won't answer us. He's busy doing something else.
He's on break.
That's demerits. That's loss of, give him a very poor grade, Dr. Loafman. So
I think they talked about this beetle that seemed to exploit nest of black rat snakes more readily than solitary nests. So that could also be a drawback. And I don't know if the female would realize that. I don't
think she would. I mean, we've also said like monitors will leave eggs in termite mounds and stuff like that. I'm not sure if the termites would hurt them or do anything to them, but I don't think they would necessarily be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they do to it or stuff like that.
You see this a lot with birds, right?
Oh, so, birds have their own. Like there are some birds that will go into a nest, kill all the babies, leave their own egg, and then fly out. It's like, and then the dumb parent, the dumb parent birds are like, "This baby is twice the size of us," but whatever.
Yeah. I think of this is the picture that came into my mind when I was down in Florida in the Everglades. I think of those trees with all the I don't know what kind of bird it is. It's that big white bird, some kind of stork, I'm assuming. But they would be up in the trees, and there would just be hundreds of them, you know, and all these baby birds. I think of like flamingos, they do the same thing. Penguins, they do the same, right? You know what I mean? You think of like they're flying to an island, and they're like, the mutton birds that over in Australia that the one what is it? Is it a black snake? I don't know. Some kind of venomous snake. There's a venomous snake over in Australia that's on one of those islands where, it pecks away its eyes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about
now, yeah.
I can't remember the species, but
I would say a lot of bird stuff is done because birds will do continual parenting and stuff. So like there's a flock of flamingos and they all stay together because that's how you not die. And they'll all nest in the same kind of areas, but they won't take care of each other's kids. Like it is, it is very much the where's mine? Who the fuck are you? Like it is,
right.
So, and the same thing goes with penguins. And they will nest and they will be near each other, but it is on the individual parents of each chick to take care of it. So,
right. This was the thing that I was sort of talking to with Keith, right? I sent him a message, but I remember Ari talking about how when he would go and look for these females and their egg and their nests,
Bolini,
that they would take
Bolini,
Bolini, yeah. Sorry.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about
I just assume if we're talking about Ari and Keith,
we said Ari and Keith, people know
Bolini.
Yes, two of them are really, really into, I guess, a boa species of some kind. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was bearded dragons.
Oh yeah. Keith is obsessed with beardies.
Yeah. But could it be that female is looking for other females that are nesting in that area? Well, because I remember him talking about how there was multiple, nests,
shells,
in
eggs,
that area,
shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So does she need that in order to feel secure? And then the other thing was that I thought that maybe with Bolini in particular, I don't know why I keep going back to this thought that there's some kind of migration thing with them, because you never see the males, you never see male Apodora, that's another one. It's on that same island. Does it seem weird that these two really big pythons, you don't really come across males? I don't know why that would be. But anyway, the thought would be that, does she seek out the nest site from where she was hatched, similar like turtles?
Well, turtles will seek out the
because
beach.
They would have to be very well. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, when you have this montane python that's like in an environment that's so not conducive to a python, you know what I mean? Like surviving, that maybe that they have some kind of thing that takes them back to their original where they hatched. And this idea of why we can't get these females to lay eggs is because maybe the stress is too much and they don't feel comfortable laying it there, similar to what you would see in monitors, where they're just not going to do it. And maybe the people that have had success, maybe for whatever reason, they've had those animals since they were so young and they got them fresh imports,
or born in a farm and not necessarily born in the wild.
Correct.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I would also say that, but also I would say a lot of stuff with that. I imagine it's the female realizing that this is a good spot, because she can survive with the eggs here because the climate environment is so harsh for them. And like, she's like, this is good because I can get to the sun. I can get to this. Obviously, the other females have had success here. So I would say a lot of, because I mean, dude, birds will build their nest on the remnants of another bird's nest that was left over from the year before, because they know it's a safe spot. Obviously, this bird, their babies went all the way, so why not do the same thing? So I would say it's that. I don't know. That makes a lot of sense to me too, is that they don't feel comfortable enough to continue down. Reptiles are very good at shutting down the entire process and like hitting the reverse button on that. So I don't know. It's tough to think about. It's so weird and so cool.
Yeah, they talked about reptiles in a colder climate, and again, this is what why I'm thinking of this. But suggested that communal nesting in a colder climate, right, has I think it was 5 degrees Celsius warmer with a communal nest than it was with a solitary nest.
That's so weird.
And you would think, I mean, you just got this mass of eggs, and you got multiple masses of eggs, that the heat coming off those eggs are going to
well, heat coming off a mom, because if it's a python, if we're talking python, that's, you got a bunch of moms kicking off heat by doing that. That's damn.
Yeah.
So, or Keith, what he has to do is he has to get his male to breed his female, and he has to bring his female back to Indonesia so it can lay the eggs there back in its old nest where it feels comfortable. So, yeah.
I just think of,
fly
they
back
talk
and forth
about
every year.
Yeah. Much study needed,
man.
Dear Dr. Loaf, if you are going to be sending grad students over to Papua New Guinea to study,
I volunteer.
Can I be the manager? Can I manage?
I have experience managing.
Yes. But basically, they did have a chapter where they talked about the benefits to the mom.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of hit on this as we're going through, but basically, communal egg laying would provide savings in energy and time, increasing the likelihood that she would survive into the next season. Mothers could reduce energetic costs associated with searching for the site,
mm-hmm.
Assessing potential egg laying site characteristics. There's just so much that you would think that would help them out by doing that. So it just kind of makes sense that they would. And why did I never think about this before reading this book? So it just makes me think, like, what else am I not thinking about when it comes to reptiles?
And that's probably the theme of this entire book, is that it slaps you with a fact, and you're like, I don't know why I didn't think about that. Like, it is like, oh shit, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why would the female burn more energy if she doesn't have to?
Yeah. You would think that the idea is that you're trying to survive and you're trying to reproduce.
You're trying to, you have to make sure that your offspring survive. And a secondary thought that you get to live also. Like, that is the whole point, is make sure the offspring get the best shot they got to move forward. But then also, you don't want to die either. So that's your mission.
The feeling I got from this book was sort of the feeling that I got when I first saw the Blue Bible, the breeding of pythons and boas in captivity, right? Mm-hmm. Because it was at the beginning stage of that, and there was so much to learn, and there were so many hypotheses through the book, and it really got your mind going and thinking about, how are we going to successfully breed all these species of pythons and boas in captivity, and da-da-da-da-da. And I think this book is sort of the similar thing, but now it's like taking it to the next level, where they're looking at animals in the wild as opposed to animals in captivity. And, basically they say it multiple times. It's just there's evidence for this stuff. But a lot of it is hypotheses, and, more study needs to be done.
But that's how it starts. You observe something, then you come up with a hypothesis or a question or why this is a thing. And then you figure it out and you move forward. And you know what? If this is something that can help with reptile keeping, or even just not even breeding, just keeping, because that's the other part of it too, is like, I'd say there's a majority of reptiles in captivity do not live up to their full potential of age range.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Maybe this is something a part of it. Like, this is not just, care, but also, stimuli. There's a bunch of different stuff that can come with it. So,
one of the things that, another one, again, why I really dug this book, is they talked a lot about geckos, and they possess the highest incidence of communal egg laying among lizards.
Yeah, they showed that one picture of that dude's hand against the cave wall.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Right?
Oh yeah. So they showed it a close up of gecko eggs up against like a cave wall, and you see a couple, but then you also see like the remnants of older eggs there, and then it pans out, and the dude's hand is up against the wall, and there's eggs covering, like way bigger than his hand, but then you see the remnants of eggs everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
How many generations of eggs were laid on this one fucking spot?
And I think most species of geckos only lay 2 eggs.
Yeah, but still, it's like, again, how many generations of geckos hatched from this cave wall in this cave spot?
Well, the thing that got me thinking about, they call it natal homing, but basically it's like to return to its birth site to nest. But there was a velvet gecko that did that, that returned to its birth site to nest. And I think they said green iguanas also did it.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to.
Yeah. Obviously sea turtles do it, right? That's probably what we,
that's what we all have
to associate.
Right. We have that one animal that we're like, that does it. And then when you're like, other animals do it too, they're like, what? Like, yeah, what? No, it's sea turtles. Like, yeah, and others. Like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So
sanity.
There were a couple other things that I highlighted, and I guess we can, but crocodilians, when they're building their nest, they actually, which eggs are laid in layers. And they suggested to do this so the females ensures that both males and females are produced.
Yep.
It hasn't been proven, but this is that 100%. But this is the claims of this. And then I think that led me to like one of the coolest things with crocodilians is they go into parental care.
Dude, okay.
Yeah.
You and I were geeking out about this before. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's nuts. They have the one picture of the male Siamese crocodile feeding its offspring. It has it has a prey item in its mouth, and it's holding it so that the babies can rip pieces off of it. And that's the fucking male. Like, it is like,
yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they exhibit biparental care and feed their young. I think there's another example in the book, and they talk about an alligator,
right?
And this was in the 70s, and it was obviously this was just an observation, but they described watching a mother hold a decomposing pig's head in her jaw while the babies tore off small pieces and ate them.
But you don't we've all seen the nature documentaries of the babies hatch. They call, mom rips open the top. She scoops them up in her jaws. Very nice. And then brings them to the water's edge and she hangs out with them. And I figured that was it. But to have them feed the babies, I figured it was like, all right, you guys are good. You're in the water. Hope you guys make it. Eat your food. I'll be here to protect you. If anything tries to kill you. But that's it. I mean, but no, they're like, oh, here's food. Like, here's prey. It's like, what?
Right.
Insane.
Yeah, they talked about, parental care can make a big difference in survival rates of crocodilian offspring. So obviously it's selected for, right?
Yeah.
So they've evolved to do this. And it's just, I don't know, man, the book is just fascinating.
Dude, and even the female rattlesnake pictures of the one timber with her babies in the coils. And she's just sitting there. I mean, that's just awesome.
I know there was a study done not too long ago, maybe it was a few years ago, with African rock pythons, and the fact that it was thought that as soon as they begin to hatch, the female leaves the nest right away. But it was shown that she sort of stayed around for a little bit longer than would have thought.
And you see, if you had told me that 2 years ago, I would have been like, because she's fucking exhausted. Now I'm like, I don't fucking know anymore. It is
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
Right. And I guess that's really I've talked about this book a lot.
Yeah.
And we were going to Texas, was it?
You went to Texas.
I think it was last year. Yeah.
When you went to Texas.
The year it came out. we went with THP. I was reading this book, and I remember talking to Justin Julander, and I was basically telling him, like, dude, you have to get this book. This is. I told Keith too, but he didn't get it. I was like, Keith, this is right up your alley,
For shame,
man.
Mr. McPeak. For shame.
Is all written all over it, man. I'm telling you, this is Keith to a T. But and Justin too, right?
Oh
yeah.
To
that, like, natural history of the animals and understanding these,
but anything to get your
secret social lives of reptiles.
Right. Anything, it says it right there in the cover. Like but anything, I think as a reptile keeper, or even just an animal keeper in general, is the second you become stagnant and you stop thinking about different things that you can do to help improve not only your ability to keep the animal, but the animal's alive in captivity, is when you should give up. Like, you cannot become stagnant. So yes, I'm not saying that we change everything because shit works, but there's some stuff in here that maybe helps with some of the problems that we have in herpetoculture, and to think outside the box and to get stuff going. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we accidentally stumble across, because, like, people are like, oh, you could always just combat the males. Somebody had to fuck up and put 2 males in with a female and watch them combat and then have success before they realize that's a fucking thing we can do. This is something else. Let's maybe not screw up. Let's learn. So, but this is awesome. And this is the kind of stuff that I want to think about. Like, I actually was thinking about this the other day. The next time the 2 Timors are in the same cage, I'm going to close off the one, grab that extra male, and let him spend the weekend and have him spend the day cruising around the other cage, hook him out, and then see what that does.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, that's where you learn,
Yeah.
They did. I know you brought it up earlier, and you were saying that I think you said this, but a few snakes such as carpet pythons and the king cobra actually build nest mounds.
Right? Yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen, like, I mean, there's several king cobra documentaries out there. If you have not seen a mother king cobra build a nest, I mean, you want to talk about exhausting, like turtles and crocs and monitors, they just got to dig. Like, this is a limbless animal dragging mulch across, like, and all they do is just mound up these leaves in this big ass pile, and then she'll get in there. And I've seen several things where, like, a snake catcher is walking up on a female that built a mound, and he's like, oh, that's a cobra nest. They're like, are you sure? And then she, like, rises 10 feet up out of it, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure there she is. So, it's cool.
They talk about true cobras and some pit vipers are sometimes said to exhibit biparental nest guarding. This is disputed, but there are observations of males visiting female rattlesnakes with litters, but it's often unknown if the males are related to the females and the offspring.
But that's the problem, is when you have something like a rattlesnake that they all have the communal dens, you can't sit there and be like, a male showed up. It's like, well, he lives here. Like, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that picture now with the crocodile holding.
He's like, here you are, my babies. It's like, oh my god,
oh my god,
holy shit!
Nuts.
Like I thought only dinosaurs did that. And I'm like, oh wait, yeah, they do. So.
Yeah, and then was the I think it was the timber rattlesnake. Basically, you see the male at the nest site with the female and the babies.
And the babies,
yeah. I don't know, man. It's really cool. Really, really cool stuff. So I highly recommend this book. If you're a nerd for reptiles and
or animal keeping in general, or animal stuff. The good thing is that all the members of our studio audience are going to get a copy to go home with them today. So if you just check under your chairs, right there, you get a book. You get a book. Unfortunately, you have to be in the studio to receive your copy. So,
is that how it goes?
That is. It's the fine print. Sorry, guys.
All right. Yeah. It's always in the details. It's always in the details.
It is.
Fair enough.
But it's cool. It's fun. And it's I hate you because my book collection back here has been slowly expanding, and the majority of it is your fault, especially those new ones where you're like, oh my god, there's a book sale, and I'm like, I don't need that book on sea snakes. Yes, I do.
Well, wait, you see behind me, right?
Yeah.
This one bookshelf here.
Yeah.
That's all Australian books.
Ugh.
I had to move. You don't even see it.
You had to move it over.
See that pile that's behind the chair? Right here?
Rejects, yeah.
Just like this high.
Yeah.
That's all snake stuff that was up on that top shelf, but I have so many books now that I had to take them off.
Anything I want?
Oh, in the bottom?
Yeah.
I do have
on the floor.
There's a couple. I have like a doubles of crocodilian books.
I already have a crocodilian book you gave me that I haven't looked at.
Oh, maybe there's another one.
Oh my god. Give it to Keith. That's what I keep doing now with my duplicates.
This shelf is all rattlesnakes.
Nice.
That's all rattlesnakes.
I need more. I need a bigger bookshelf. Like I have.
So do I.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, I need a bigger bookshelf. I need a bigger room. I need a bigger house because I don't have any. I don't have any fucking room here. I guess I got to put a bookshelf on top of the roughies now. Like it is getting ridiculous. So yeah.
But so I hope that the idea is that we wanted to take a book specifically and really go in depth with it and sort of talk about some of the things that we took away from the book rather than just say, go buy this book. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it and you go get your copy of the book, and we will be doing this again. And
we're going to put it up on the website, just kind of like in there. We had that Morelia library, MPR library, right?
Yep.
So we're going to throw it up there as a recommendation. We're not famous enough to get like little MPR logos or stickers on the covers. So that's not going to happen, but it's definitely very cool. And even if you're not necessarily a snake guy like us, or I'm sorry, me, other people have left me and now are traders. But it does go into crocodilians, monitors, lizards, geckos, all kinds of stuff, turtles. So
you even references birds.
I know. Well, they kept referring to reptiles as non-avian, like non. Oh yeah, it was non-avian
birds.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, it's like no, don't say that.
Going to the non-avian bird,
the non-avian bird show today. Wait, what? But it's definitely very cool. So
okay. So I guess now we'll do some housekeeping things. But one is Gecko Radio is live. Gecko Radio is live, and the first episode is up. That's a podcast with myself, Nipper Reed, and Phil Wolf. And it's up on all platforms. So it's on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Amazon, whatever podcast app you use.
What are you discussing, and have you replaced me?
No.
Oh,
when are you going to learn there's no replacing you? You can't replace you.
Never.
Always. Many podcasts have tried to replicate you, but none have been successful.
I have to always maintain vigilance, or that's when it'll happen. So yeah.
No. I just so the old I sort of talked about this in this show of the opening thing of the Gecko podcast, but I wanted to really talk about Australian geckos, and obviously Nipper's on an Australian gecko kick.
You did that to him.
I sort of have some Australian geckos. Yeah, I broke them.
You broke
and now Riley's entering into the fray. But I didn't want to do it on MPR because I wanted, I think the thing is, it's like we talk about specific things.
We do.
And obviously we want to talk about things that, we're into, which is sort of like why you did the colubrid thing with Riley.
Right.
And I was like,
you want to talk about geckos and not have it turn to, they're kind of like snakes in this way. Like just turn the boat.
It's not even that. It's not even that. I wanted it to be with people that were, and it's not saying that you don't like geckos per se, but I don't know. I don't trust an animal that comes in pieces. Like, it's if it's an animal that after a certain point some assembly is required, I don't trust it. Like, it's
What's wrong with it? It can't be a whole animal for 5 fucking minutes, like, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be good to sort of approach it as its own separate thing, you know. So that's sort of why it's there. So it's sort of basically an MPR for geckos, right?
Yep.
That's basically what it is. So Gekkado Radio, go check it out. And it's the first time that the two worlds have been branched of the two networks. Would this be like a hostile takeover, or
what
are we doing?
Not yet. We're gearing up, but not yet. Soon. Soon. Soon we'll start when we end up kidnapping Schmitty on his walk home. You know, that's when it'll be
Schmitty, I got some bears for you. Come here.
He's sitting at work.
Come into the car.
He's sitting at work. A van pulls up, says free bears. We'd get him. It'd be easy. He'd come.
Free bears and a free cigar.
He's like, I'm not entirely sure, but I can't pass this up if it's true. So yeah, easily
exactly
him. Yep.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, it's Phil Wolf, he does the Knobtails IG, which is basically like he's really into knobtails. Well, he's really into all kind of reptiles, but knobtails, he sort of felt that didn't really have a place where people could go to sort of learn about them. Well, this was even before the book.
All right, yeah. But there's multiple species that don't have a book. Like I was doing that the other day where I'm like, there is no complete Expedites. Like that is not yet. But I'm like,
no liasis, complete liasis.
No liasis. I'm chomping at the bit for some of these, hognose and other stuff. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, they're working on that book, right?
The only one is the Sabak. Like, there's.
Yeah, of all the, I love
Sabak.
I think they're cool. I love they're cool.
I have
but of all the snakes,
Sabak?
You pick the ones with the goofy eyeballs.
That's what you have to put on the cover. Like,
yeah. I also, as we're slowly but surely, as one podcast sort of gets up and going, we move on to the next one. The next one in the slot really is the BOA podcast, and that's going to be with Rob,
Keith,
Warren Booth, and Keith, which is going to be fantastic.
Yes.
I promise that will be fantastic. And I moved Herp History off of the NPR feed. I put it on its own feed. And basically, that's me, you, and Rob, or me, you, and whoever, or me, you, and
insert person here.
Yeah, whatever. Again, just sort of like, I want to like highlight that so that I have a feeling that, like, with carpet pythons and Morelia being a niche kind of thing, that, maybe it should be its own thing.
I like the idea of Herp History being off on its own, because we've there's several people outside of carpet pythons that I'd love to talk to on that stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, even just hanging out with Ron St. Pierre and talking about his stuff was, I mean, it's great. So
I'm gonna so I've slowly started moving that over, and once it's approved and all that stuff, I'll announce it that it's on its own thing, so you can subscribe to it. I'm going to move the
2 podcasts on the network again now. God damn it! Somehow you roped me into another one.
Yeah, well, I figured you'd want to be in that one.
Yeah, right.
Of all the ones you would want to be on, that would be the one. Yeah. It's going to be monthly. Cool. Is how that's going to come out. A lot of the new ones are going to be monthly, and I'm going to slowly upload the episodes. So far we've done 4 episodes. Right. We've done Keith McPeak, Python Pete, Dr. Ross, and Ron St. Pierre. So they're the 4 that are up there. So once the 4 of them are up there, that gives us time to sort of work
4
on
months to figure out some of the shit
of guests, record a show, and get it out there. But like, to your point, like, we should talk to Kathy and Bill Love, and I'm trying to think who else. Possibly even people like, I know is controversial and whatnot, but like Crutchfield, or trying to think who else might be from the old days. I don't know. There's tons of people, man.
I mean, I almost wish we could grab some of the old episodes of MPR that we've done with some, like, we had that one episode with Cameron. Like,
yeah, that's probably could go up there as well.
I'd say chop that up and throw that into a freaking herb history thing. We've had multiple really good guys on herb history. No, I can't do it. I'm like, you already spoke to him. Yeah.
Who?
God damn it! Why am I blanking on his name right now? The rough scale, the herpetologist, beard.
Mark O'Shea.
Thank you. God damn, what the hell was wrong there?
We could probably, I at this point now, I could probably get
him again.
We could probably do that again. Yeah,
I'll wear a tie. I promise.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure I'll reach out to Scott, and I'm sure there's Australian,
there's plenty of
people that fit into
there.
into that group, if you will. Old school people. I can't think of
pioneering stuff.
I'd like to talk to Bob Applegate.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You know what I mean? Like, just the amount of things that they've seen.
Dude, I'm serious. Go through the catalog. If we can re-edit some of the old pictures, like or old episodes, Rico's episode should go into her history.
Rico would be one. Yeah, Rico would be one. A lot. So this is what people don't understand. We've been doing this so long that we've actually had podcasts deleted from our feed. Like a lot of
but no. That other podcast you guys mentioned, that was the longest running reptile podcast at 5 years. That's adorable. Like,
yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that made me mad too.
Sit down.
Oh, that's cute,
child. Like,
but yeah, that's the whole idea of that, to try to get that going. So that's going to be on its own feed. Let's see, what else do we got going on that I've been working on behind the scenes? We're going to kickstart a blog of sorts, I guess you will. We've tried this multiple times, and it's going to be from multiple people are going to
somebody will write something. Yeah.
It's going to be like a species specific thing. So I guess it's like our version of a magazine, if you will, but like blog style.
Yeah.
Right. So look forward to that. I think it's probably going to just be like focusing on the natural history of a specific species. Obviously, if you're feeling some type of way and you want to say something about, something that's going on or something you observed or something like that. Yeah, there's going to be things like that as well. But that will be over on the website. I'm slowly but surely like ticking away at that website. And once it's all done, we'll release it. All our herp trips, working on carpet python video 101 stuff. What else? I don't know. So many things.
We're definitely going to start filming more stuff, and especially as we get closer to egg season and baby season and stuff like that. And then of course, you and I did have a conversation about Carpet Fest. So
we did
I've gotten a conversation.
People asking about that.
Talk about it. To answer your question, we have no idea yet.
Yes. I mean, I'll tell people what I said. The problem is that there's a couple of issues. Yep. One, we haven't had a Carpet Fest in 2 years, right? 2 years, 3 years?
2 years, 2 years.
2 years. Okay, so we haven't had a Carpet Fest.
We don't have one this summer. It'll be 3. Yeah.
Everybody's itching to, including us.
Yes.
We want to have a Carpet Fest, right? Yes. We don't want other Carpet Fest to go on and not have the Northeast, the original, the OG, it hurts my heart and all that stuff. Logistically, it's hard to do it at somebody else's house just because it's just proven to be difficult with just lining things up. So as soon as me and Owen got a house, it was like, okay, this is so much easier, and it's already a tremendous amount of work, as both of us know. Right?
Yep.
Then you throw into it the whole thing. Owen's getting married this year.
Yeah, so that is something that is happening. Yeah,
that's another little thing that sort of goes into the mix. And my wife's not necessarily against it, but like I was telling you, and again, I'm just going to be straight with people. Right? I asked people not to bring animals to the house. They did. They didn't listen. They came from Hamburg. I cannot go through another year with getting mites in my collection
after Carpet Fest
from that.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yep.
I can't do it again.
Yep.
It's fucking draining, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I love showing my animals. I love sharing that with people and people getting excited about it. I stay basically in the room the entire
which is why,
day, So it is a reason that I do love it and I do enjoy it. And I know that, you and Rob and my wife and everybody else sort of sometimes gets a little mad at me that I'm doing that. But like,
I try to save you, but it's
I do. I enjoy it, but like I can't do the mite thing again.
Right.
I just fucking can't.
Right.
And the fact that I ask people not to do it, I'm trying not to be a dick about it, but they still fucking brought snakes and they still fucking brought reptiles, and it just, I don't know, man. It's just like I'm trying to do. I'm trying to open my house to people. We're trying to be, I don't know. I don't mean to bitch about it. It's not a negative thing. It's not. We'll do it again. It's gonna happen.
It will happen, but
it's just a matter of figuring out the logistics.
Right.
That's
and also
sort of where we're at.
We're dancing around ideas of possibly having it off site, not at either one of our houses, but just having a get together. So yes, there won't be any snakes, but we'll be able to hang out and talk and drink and eat and do all that other stuff. So there's that. I don't know. A lot of stuff still up in the air. If you guys out there who are listening have ideas or want to pitch us ideas, you can always email us at info@moreliapythonradio.com. If it's a terrible idea, we will ignore it. If it's a good one, we might claim it as ours. So you have that. So
yeah, that's sort of where Carpet Fest is. I somehow we're gonna have to try to figure it out and how we're gonna do it and whatnot. And I don't want to limit people coming. I don't want to have like a cutoff, but I'm just worried that my house. I mean, the last Carpet Fest we had, my house was we were at max capacity,
right?
And my house is just a little bit bigger than mine, but like
that's
you can't do it.
You have a yard,
and you just had
people like it is
right, and you just had you're in the process of moving and weddings and all this stuff. You can't have people at your house. You know what I mean?
Insanity. So I'm leaning more and more towards offsite, which may mean that we may have to sell tickets to Carpet Fest because that's a lot of overhead for you and I to take, but if we find some place that's going to let us hang out for a really long time up into the wee hours to chill, eat and drink and have fun, why not? So
we thought about, we didn't really like maybe the following year, maybe we'll do something similar to like what was like ICAST or
I know that
something like that.
One of the Carpet Fest, they had it like at they had it at a reptile store that had like party rooms or something like that. So we'll figure it out. But I have an idea of which place worked out well because I went there for one friend's like birthday party and they had it and they didn't. I was like fully expecting them to kick them out at like 2 a.m. and they didn't. Like, I mean, I think right around 2 a.m. is when they told everybody to get off the property. But they let you hang out, they let you jam, they let you do your thing. All the way up until when it was basically bar closing time, which is probably where I'd put it too. So,
right. So we are. I must get a message a day about Carpet Fest. So
people don't talk to me; they know better. So,
it just comes to the email.
I know, as it should. But if you guys have ideas, pitch them. We're always listening, and we'll see what happens. But we'll try to get it done. So,
yep. And then the last thing I had is the last idea I had was getting sort of, I fucking hate Facebook, but Morelia pick of the week. I feel like we've neglected that for
very much so
quite a long time.
Why? Because it's annoying. But go ahead.
I don't really spend much time. I really don't have the time is really what it comes down to. But I thought one way to sort of get people to sort of check it out and maybe get conversations going over there or whatever is that I posted up today. I have so many pictures of carpet pythons and green tree pythons and scrubs and whatnot that I've just accumulated over the year. But I started to put a picture of GQIJ, Mersal, that basically Luke Snell owned. Then he sold it to me. If you have a GQ M-Pen IJ out there, you have an animal from this lineage. That's the sire. He's the one that I bred poison ivy to the first year. So I don't know. Look forward to that. I'm going to try to post up a few times a week of just pictures that I have of some of the history of Morelia, if you will. Cool. So if you're into that, if you're looking for those pictures that are hard to find, how can I was trying to figure out, like, how can I share these? I figured this is the best way.
It is. So, yeah.
So you can go over and become a member. I promise you, though, if you don't answer the questions, you're not.
No, you're not coming in. Yeah, no.
I immediately delete you. I don't care who you are. I delete you. Answer the goddamn questions. There's 2 questions, man. There's just 2 questions.
And it's only there to keep people out trying to sell sunglasses. It's like, come on.
And why do you want to be in the group?
Right.
It's really
not that hard. You can just be like, I like carpet python. Why do you want to be in the group? Look, carpet python. Cool, done.
See above.
See carpet python. I like them. All right, cool. Done.
Yes.
Easy.
This is the one place where you can answer me like the way they do nowadays.
Why do you want to be in the group?
But to not answer at all.
Snake emojis, $sign.
Promises all you not to get into the group. I promise you will be deleted immediately. So there you go. I think that's all I got. That's all the sort of the housekeeping that I got. And you should definitely check out this book. If it's definitely one to have.
Go check out your local library. They won't have it. So
it's a little bit pricey. It's a little bit pricey.
Yeah.
A little bit pricey, but I'm sure in a few months you'll see a lot of used ones popping
Exactly.
up.
Just like do what we do with all the reptile books that we end up buying. Just have a list, put it on your watch list on all the book websites, and then you'll get an alert when it's for sale, and then go grab it. Or like I said, I keep spending more time at the freaking book table at these reptile shows than I do other ones. I buy enough snakes already.
Yeah,
insanity.
You do. You've added a lot of snakes as of
still
recently.
Not done. It's like
there's still more coming.
Still more because I need to pair things, and it's stupid.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough, man. You do you, boo.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Right at the 2 hours. I thought we were going to be shorter than that, but obviously
we don't shut up. But
lots to talk
I will say that I did get her to agree that snakes can be added to the wedding registry, but she apparently she has to approve all of them, which I said is not fair, and we're fighting about that now. So
okay, fair enough. Is it a gift card, or is somebody going to bring you
if I say don't bring snakes to the wedding, people will bring snakes to the wedding. So I'm just going to say don't bring snakes to the wedding.
Say what you want them to do, but say the opposite.
Exactly. Do that. So all right.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so for us, MoreliaPythonRadio.com, be paying attention to the website because we're going to be adding to that slowly. And like I said, our trips, our books that we recommend, papers, and, about us.
Eric,
the
hair care tips.
I mean,
it's...
Yeah, my hair is long. I told Owen before we started, man, it's like long. I guess it's you know what it is? I think why I grow my hair, I go from really short to really long, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's like this thing now that I'm going to be 48 years old that I want to show that I can still grow hair.
Look at it. Look at my hair.
Yeah. Look at it. Look at these locks.
Look at my young man hair, dude.
Yeah, look at it sway around in the air. I look like a beetle. I want to hold your hand, but yeah, man, I can almost put it in a ponytail on the top.
Almost, you can go to work wearing a top knot, and all your young employees will respect you.
Yes, they'll be like, "Yeah, look at Burke, man."
Look, you walk in like that. Anybody who says "looking good, boss" is trying to kick your ass, kiss your ass, and don't trust it. Yeah,
I never trust those people.
Never.
I always say, "Oh, that's an ass kisser."
An ass kisser.
I respect the people that have the balls to come up to me and talk to me like a person. Yeah, like, yo, what's with that freaking thing on the top of your head, bro? You're 48 years old, man.
Congratulations, Mr. Senior Vice President. Like, what?
Can anybody say midlife crisis? I already been through that. Been there, done that. But yeah, so I don't even know what we were talking about. The fuck
website. It was
website. Back on track. Yeah. So pay attention to the website. info@MoreliaPythonRadio.com if you want to get in touch with us. Check out all the cool podcasts that we got on the thing. I'm gonna quick list them off, right? Because we haven't done this in a long time. We got the OG Morelia Python Radio, the one you're listening to right now. Then we have Carpet's Cliff Notes, which an episode will be out this Saturday, by the way.
It will? Are we doing that?
Yeah, well, I already recorded it. And I've had it recorded for a long time. And I don't want to overburden you with a third podcast. So I sort of just went by solo on that. But okay, fair enough.
I can do Cliff Notes.
All right, fair enough. I will note that. Carpet Cliff Notes. We have, let's see, we have the Monitor Keeping Podcast. We have Reptile Fight Club. We have the Australian Herpetoculture Podcast. We have, let's see.
Do you not have a list in front of you? You're just trying to do this all off the top of your head?
I'm doing it off the top of my head. We have Carpets and Coffee, which also is a live stream every Friday. We didn't do one last week because that's when I was stuck with President Biden on 95.
Yep.
We have the Field Herping Podcast. We have Student of the Serpent, which I guess Rob's doing the Boa podcast, so I'm solo on that one too. So that one will be coming out soon. But that's sort of like our natural history episode.
Anybody want to audition to be on a podcast with Eric? Just send your resume to info@MoreliaPythonRadio.com.
We have Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, which is an excellent one. And obviously, we just added Strictly Shorties, which is April Justine talking about short-tail pythons. We have a Gakado Radio to now has an episode up and has joined the ranks. And we also have Herp History going on its own
thing now.
Feed now. And so what's that?
12. That's 12.
There are Colubrid Corner is still up there.
Oh,
There's 11 episodes.
Yeah.
That's sort of been archived, if you will.
Right.
And then we have the Boa podcast that's going to be joining at some point. And I think the only other one that's there, well, there's two other ones that are up in the air. Whatever Nick is going to be doing. And then we have that one that we talked about with the tech,
right?
The reptile tech stuff,
right? So it's about, I would say right now we have 13 and a half, because I'm going to call your Brick Corner as a half. So
yes.
So yeah, 13 and a half shows.
And that's we're I keep saying this, but we're pretty much at max capacity.
And then you say that, and then you add like 3, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? So
no, pretty much the whole goal was to have a podcast a day, and that's almost where we're at with what we have.
There's only like 7 days in a week, right?
There is, but some of them are monthly.
So okay. All right.
Each one comes out on one day of the month.
So we need 30 podcasts.
So only us, Reptile Fight Club, Carpets and Coffee, and the Australian podcast, Herpetoculture Podcast, are the only ones that are weekly.
Okay.
Bi-weekly is Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. Monitor Keeping Podcast, they're bi-weekly. They come out on Wednesdays. And then monthly would be Student of the Serpent, Herp History, Strictly Shorties, Gakado Radio, the Field Herping Podcast, and Carpet Cliff Notes.
Cool.
So there we go.
That worked.
And the Boa podcast.
At some point. Yeah.
When that goes. So Yeah, so there you go. That's all the podcast. So if you're into any of that, we got tons of shit to listen to, plenty of stuff. No excuses not to know what's going on. If you want to get in contact with any of those guys, they all have, they all have personal Facebook pages and whatnot. You can send it to MPR Network Facebook page or Instagram. You can also send an email on info@MoreliaPythonRadio.com. I got a message from Ben Frame today. Sent it to, was it Ben Frame? Let me make sure before I go and. No, Benjamin Cooper sent it, and he had an idea for Reptile Fight Club.
Send it on to those guys.
I sent it on to Justin and Chuck, and they're going to make it happen.
Nice.
So there you go. So, So if you want to get in touch with them or us or anybody on the network, feel free to reach out. So
cool.
Lots of stuff. Right.
So there's the obviously there's the Instagram, there's the Facebook pages. Go check all those stuff out. There's also the Teespring store where you can get all the swag. After we're done with the website, we're going to start working on that so we can add all the shows, all the things over there for people to grab. And for Eric, it's EB Morelia for everything. For me, it is Rogue-Reptiles for the website and Rogue_Reptiles for everything else. And yeah, that's it. That's all we have for you guys this week. So we'll catch everybody next week for some more Morelia Python Radio. Good night.